YouTube, what's good? What happening? I can't believe it's day 10 of Runmas, and we got pretty far. So we done went through the 5K, talked about the 10K, talked about the half marathon. So it's only right to talk about the ultimate race, the full marathon. So I'm trying out this new ND filter. It's a little bit darker, but I'm trying to see how I like it. All right. Whether you're training for your first 5K or running around the block without stopping, mastering these fundamental terms are the secret sauce. So let's get started. So what's a marathon? A marathon is 26.2 miles. No, a marathon, there's no such thing as a 5K marathon. There's no such thing as a 10K marathon. Yes, there's a half marathon, but as you know, a half marathon is literally half of 26.2. 26.2 miles. It's a legendary and highly demanding distance. And the first step is commitment. Like, I'm not trying to scare no one, but training for a marathon requires around 4 to 6 months of training. And it requires your base mileage to, let's say, you look at around 30 to 50 miles per week just to like support the long runs. I personally never ran or trained for an actual marathon. I've trained for half marathons. I had numerous friends that have ran marathons and I've seen their trainings. Especially like my friends who had actual run coaches. Like their ramp ups was like when it was like near peak week, it was. I think they had about maybe like 150 miles for the month, something crazy like that, maybe more. But that's why the first thing to understand when it comes to marathon is commitment. You have to be committed to the distance. You have to respect the distance. And pacing for a marathon is mainly for survival, especially as I say, beginner runner. Like when we discussed the half marathon, I mentioned 6.57 out of 10. For a full marathon, 5.5 out of 10. Granted, that's for beginners, slower runners. If you're like a seasoned veteran, you probably ran a couple of marathons before. The elites, it might be a little bit different. Like, I have a couple friends in my run clubs here. They run their full marathons in like the 6 minute per mile type range, which is not elite, but they sub 3 hour marathoners. Now, if I try to do that, I probably get like a half mile, then I'm gasping for air. I'm being dramatic right now. But you understand that, right? And I will say, if you do shoot, or if you are shooting for actual marathon, let's say after you ran a couple, let's say half marathons, I would at least not, there's nothing wrong with skipping out on the world majors. There's perfectly fine races locally in your region or somewhere around the country or even international. Marathons, you have to block up the streets and you don't want to actually hop on a race where you have like a limit to beat. Like shout out to the women's marathon. I think everyone finishes, no matter what the time. I think Chicago is like that, New York. There's other races that's not like that. So don't worry about your pacing, especially like if you actually do choose that type of race. Pick the race where you know that you can finish and you don't have to worry about nothing else. Your pace, your race. For the marathon, it should feel pretty easy until like let's say mile 15. Like you should be able to get through it. Like if you did the talk test, you should be able to run with full sentences. Like there's no need to push yourself to try to make a certain time. Again, the marathon is about survival. You have to survive and make it to the end. You know, yesterday when we discussed the half marathon, we discussed the wall at mile 10 and how you should preserve as much energy as you can until mile 10 for the final 5K. It's the same for the marathon, except the wall typically comes around mile 20. And depending on like what your training plan is, I'm pretty sure your peak week will probably stop at like 22. Not many people train to the full 26. So the wall typically during a marathon, the wall normally hits around mile 20. So the goal of your race should be preserving every molecule of stored glycogen before you can burn it in that last 10K. And unsurprisingly, the long run is it's probably the centerpiece of your entire training plan for this race. And as I mentioned previously, your peak week, your longest run before the race may hit 22. Some may just hit 20. I think I've seen plans that may have less than that, but you probably want to hit as much as you can before the race. At least give yourself some time to actually build up to that and then deload down, well, taper down, excuse me. So basically, you should treat your long run as like race preparation. Like you should be trying out different shoes. Like what shoes you gonna wear during the race? What socks are you gonna wear? Your gels. Do you know how to even use the gels properly during the race? You should be using your long runs to like to improve that area or get accustomed to that area, to that process. So when it's get to the race, it's gonna come natural. So the main reason you have 4 to 6 months of training, so about 3 weeks before the race, that's when you get your taper period. So that's when you significantly reduce like your mileage. During that time, you're allowing your body to recover. So like you have that fitness now, you have that base mileage now, that time on feet. So in that period, that taper period, so when you get to the race, you're gonna be well rested. Everything's gonna be recovered, so you can just not shoot at the blocks, but start your race with no issue of like tiredness or fatigue. You should be at peak And if you have a Garmin or something like that that actually measures like your training readiness, they do have that peak category. For some reason, I can never get that category to hit at the time of the race, but as long as in the green, productive, we Gucci. Fueling for the marathon is a non-negotiable. I know there's some people who, we call it raw dog the race down here. They use like no gels or fuels or anything for like a half marathon. You're definitely not going to be able to do that for a full marathon. I know some races do offer gels on the course, so you do have that option. So you will run out of that glycogen and thus run out of energy. So you want to keep that replenished throughout the race. Again, by this time you should already know your body and you understand how often you should be taking your fuel. Like for me, I think I used to be 45 minutes, but I'm going towards 30 every 3 miles. So that means I'm probably taking a gel right before I race. Mile 3, 6, 9, 12. What, 6? Oh my gosh, I cannot count today. 15, 18. And I'll probably make it a 21, and I should be good. It's all mental once you get to mile 20. It's a huge commitment, but once you cross that finish line, that accomplishment, just the fact you finished that, you know how that rewarding feeling, like crossing the finish line is unlike any other. Like I remember I crossed my first 5K. I was happy. I mean, my first 10K, I was happy. My first 10 miler, all right, this feels kind of emotional because, wait a minute, it's the first race I even trained for, and I smashed it. Half marathon, so I can imagine crossing the finish at a marathon. Like, so many cheers. You're part of a legendary small group of people in the world who ever finished a marathon. And normally it'd be some nice medals, like the big medals. Big medals. Like it's all that hard work, them early mornings, them late evenings, probably not seeing your friends as often, not going out partying and drinking, worrying about getting your adequate sleep, probably trying to get as much as you can carb wise. Like the marathon is a test of will, triumph of endurance, and it's the ultimate running goal for many people. So let me know in the comments, would you ever run a marathon? Like, is it on your bucket list when it comes to this running thing? And again, if you were a slower runner, it doesn't matter. You're still a runner. You can still finish a full marathon. And in my opinion, as a slower runner, it's sometimes I feel like it's like a larger accomplishment because you have to do so much more to even like get past that. Anyways, again, it's a late night. I haven't cooked dinner yet, which is crazy. I actually had a track workout earlier after work. And I don't know, every time I go running, by the time I get home and like trying to decompress, it's like 10 o'clock and I'm like, didn't eat yet. I'm like, I got home at like 8. Like really, I took a shower. Well, I took a long shower because it was cold outside. And I don't know, I couldn't warm up, so I had to take that hot shower. But anyways, tomorrow, day 11, like I mentioned earlier, I mentioned that taper word. So we're going to be talking about tapering tomorrow. And taper period is like probably one of my best periods. Like, well, maybe after deload. I don't think deload week is on my radar for runless, but it's ultimately the same thing. It is like when it happens. Like deload maybe like week 4, week 8, or week 4, week 8. But tapering is like I said, mentioned the last like couple weeks after your peak run. Peak as in like your longest run of that plan. But here I go yapping again. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know how this ND filter looks on my camera. I'm getting closer and closer to color grading and using LUTs and stuff, but I'm not there yet, but we inching close. But yeah, talk to y'all later. Deuces.